Hi kids, today I'm going to be reading from a book called Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McCloskey. I'm going to be reading this in segments so that you can watch one segment one night, another segment another night. Okay, let's start at the beginning. By the way, this was awarded a medal as the most distinguished American picture book for children in 1941. If you could imagine, Nana and Papa in the Blue House were only 10 years old. That's older than Luke, but younger than Mom, Dad, and Grandpa. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallard saw what he looked like a nice place, Mrs. Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard, so down they flapped. Next morning, they fished for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond, but they didn't find much. See them fishing? Mr. and Mrs. Mallard fishing at the pond. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer. But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water. So the Mallards followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast better than the first. See the swan boats? Those are the swan boats down at the Boston Common. "I like this place," Mrs. Mallard said as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her. But, see that? Kids riding the bicycles in the common. "Look out!" squawked Mrs. Mallard, all of the dither. "You'll get run over." And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies. With all those horrid things rushing about, we'll have to look somewhere else." You see, it's a bicycle rider running through the garden, the Boston Common Garden. Oh my goodness. So they flew over Beacon Hill and around the State House, but there was no place for them. See? They're flying over the State House. See that? And Beacon Hill over here, they're flying over in Boston. That's all in Boston. They looked in Lewisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Lewisburg Square right here, if you can see it. That's Lewisburg Square in Boston. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That island looks like a nice quiet place, and it's only a little away from the public garden. Yes, said Mrs. Mallard, remembering the peanuts. That looks like just the right place to hatch ducklings. See? There's the Charles River going right through there. And there's the island that they wanted to stop at. See the sailboats and the other little boats that are out there? So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. See them sitting on the island? See them? Right there and right there. But of course they could swim. And one day they swam over to the park on the riverbank, and there they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that, the mallards called on Michael every day. See the policeman feeding them peanuts? They like peanuts, don't they? After Mrs. Mallard had laid eggs in the nest, she couldn't go visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm, because she moved off the nest only to get a drink of water, or to have her lunch, or to count the eggs and make sure they were all still there. See? See the nest with the eggs? And that's the end of part 1. And I'll read another part to you later and send it to you a little bit later.